This is Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. Three days ago, I had just finished weed eating the east part of my pond. It was really looking nice, and right at the end of where I weed eated, right as the pond turns and goes onto the dam, right there is my shed that I store stuff in. And one of the things I store in there is gas and diesel for all my equipment. So I stopped there to gas up the weed eater before I took it back, put it up in the garage. And I had been noticing what I thought were wasps flying around. 2 years ago, we fixed up the shed, put a new roof on it, new siding on it, went in and caulked all the parts where you could see daylight. And it's just a little shed. It's not very big. The wife painted it barn red, and it's kind of cute back there. Put a new door on it, and I thought it was wasp-proof because I was getting mice and snakes and wasps and things. I told a story how a few years ago a wasp hit me on the ear, and I had to get a root canal a couple days later. But I've been stung a couple times down there. One time, two of them, hit me right in the face. I just walked home, took off all my clothes, took a Benadryl, and went to sleep for 8 hours, and I seemed to be fine. When the wasp hit my ear, my whole head swelled up, and I looked like, did you ever see The Mask with Cher, her son, how he looked? I kind of looked like that. I'm not making fun. I did. My face distorted and swelled up, and it was crazy. Well, I was filling up my weed eater, and I'd noticed the wasps or something down in there last couple times, but I'd just been there earlier. I went to the gas station, filled up a bunch of fuel cans, and so I was just putting gas. I wasn't messing with anything, and all of a sudden, these things were buzzing me and stuff. I put the cap back on, shut the door to the shed. All of a sudden, they were on me. They were flying all over the place. I was swatting and all that stuff. Anyway, long story short, I got stung 3 times. 1 in the back of the neck and 2 in my left shoulder. Well, so I cussed them and cursed them and felt a little sorry for myself and took my weed eater and went home. Put it up, and then I went and I mowed for about 3 hours. I was fine. It stung a little. It wasn't fun. And when I got done mowing, I took a can of wasp spray. I had a can of wasp spray down there, but I went to squirt them, and it was empty, of course. So I took a fresh can down there, plus this stuff is professional grade insect spray that, like if you would call it an exterminator. And that works really good around here. And I took that down there, and I found their nest. I thought it was inside the shed, which I was kind of confounded about because I thought I had it all fixed. But it was on the outside under an eave. On the back side of the shed, I wasn't even messing with them. I wasn't close to there or anything. So it turned out that they were hornets. I went in with my spray can. That stuff, it'll shoot 20 feet. It's a white foam, and it kind of got them going, and they're coming out dying, and they were flying around me, and I was spraying them. And then I took my professional strength insect sprayer, and I sprayed the nest again. And this nest was weird. They were hornets and not wasps. I have basically 4 kinds of wasps around here. Yellow jackets, which never given me any problem. Paper wasps. And they're the ones that they had a nest in that shed a few years ago. And it looks like a Japanese lantern or something, their nest. Mud daubers would build little mud globs and they stick to the walls or under the eaves and stuff. And hornets. And I don't think I've ever seen a hornet nest. But these guys were pure black. And their nest was about 3 inches square. And it was up under the eave. So I knocked that nest down and stomped on it and reminded them that this is my shed and my property, and you are not welcome if you're not going to play right. I was angry at them. Well, I went home. I put up the mowers and all the spray stuff and went home, took a shower, told my wife about it and stuff like that. Didn't really feel bad at all. It kind of hurt where I was stung, you know. And about 2 hours later, all of a sudden I could tell my neck was all swollen up, clear up into my skull, around underneath my chin and stuff. And my shoulder, all of a sudden my left hand was in my left shoulder. I couldn't move my hand. When I tried to close my fist, I couldn't do it, and it felt like my arthritis was like rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I don't really have arthritis, so I'm just guessing what this would feel like. But my hand swelled up, and I couldn't use my hand, and it hurt so bad. So, of course, Kim's saying, should I take you to the emergency room? Should I? And I explained to her that a couple days after I got stung in the face and I looked like Martin Short on the movie Pure Luck with Danny Glover, where his face swelled up and looked like a big basketball. That's what I looked like that time. And I went to the doctor and he just laughed at me. Told me to take an antihistamine. I think he prescribed one. Told me that if it was really terrible, I'd probably be dead by now and all that stuff. So I decided not to go to the doctor. I mean, the emergency room's 45 minutes away, so I don't want to do that. So anyway, that night I had the chills real bad when I went to bed. Made Kim cover me up with a bunch of blankets. And the next morning I couldn't use my hand at all, and it was looked like a claw. It kind of started to close a little, and I was holding it at a weird angle, and it was kind of far out. Maybe it was otherworldly. Maybe I was like Peter Parker, who got bit by some radioactive spider and turned into Spider-Man. I am the Hornet! Bzzz. No way, man. I was hurting for certain. Well, now it's 3 days later, and I'm feeling better. I can use my hand a little now. It's pretty good, actually. Last night I could tell I could start moving all the fingers except for my middle one, you know. So it was still standing out, so I had to watch it not going anywhere public. I'd probably get beat up by flipping somebody off. But now I can move that. It's still a little swollen and all that, but my arm's not as swollen. It was swollen. I could barely close it, and it's okay now. I mean, it's still a little swollen, but I can pass for normal again. The thing on the back of my neck where it's bitten is still there, kind of pussed up and stuff. But besides that, I'm okay. And that brought me to thinking about, am I getting too old to live out here and do all the things I do? You know, a few days before I got stung, I mowed for about 6 hours. I could barely walk when I got off of the mower, but I felt fine. I mean, the next day I was okay. I noticed I went to the back of my property, and I used to keep that. I'd have to work back there a lot, but the last couple of years I've kind of ignored that, and nature has taken it over. I want to keep that open because that's where I bury my animals. But I used to drive my truck back there, and right now I couldn't do that. It's just too overgrown. But I did spend several hours back there mowing. My mower's a champion of a machine, I'll tell you that. And they can get that chest-high grass, because I don't think I could have got my tractor back there, actually. I've already kind of stopped crawling up on my roof to clean my chimney. I never thought anything about climbing up on things before. I look in the mirror and I know that I see an older guy there, but aging is so gradual. Now, if I saw somebody I knew for 40 years ago and I see him, it make me wonder, who is that old person? You know what I mean? And chances are they're younger than me. I'm getting ready to enter the winter of my life. I believe that there's 4 seasons in our life: spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and I'm in the autumn of my life. I break them into 25 years. I've done a podcast about that before. You know, when I started doing these, I thought I could do 1,000 podcasts. Well, this is episode 292. Do one a week. Already I listened to some old ones, and then I listened to some current ones, and I feel like I'm starting to sound like Grandpa now. What do you do? Are you having these same issues? It's hard to accept, and yet I welcome growing older. I do. I very much appreciate the years I have had, the experiences I've experienced, the watching my children give me grandchildren. I'm mostly healthy. I am very, very blessed. But my wife's wanting to do things that really we can't by living out here. We're so far away from our friends that we barely see anybody. And I know that growing older, you just don't go out and see people as much. Should I move to a senior citizens joint, where we'd have and make new friends about our age? And my idea of exercising would be going to the pool or taking a walk around the block instead of going out there and humping my butt, cutting trees down and all that stuff. There are days I come home from doing that and I say, I'm getting too old for this. And I hate to admit that. Now for the top 10 55 years ago. That's the top 10 popular songs this week in 1969. Number 10, Crystal Blue Persuasion, Tommy James and the Shondells. Number 9, Lay Lady Lay, Bob Dylan. Number 8, in the year 2525, Zager and Evans. Number 7 by Creedence Clearwater Revival, Green River. Number 6, Get Together, The Youngbloods. Number 5 by Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. Number 4, Put a Little Love in Your Heart, Jackie DeShannon. Number 3, now this is bubblegum, I think. Now if you liked it, that's fine. By the Archies, Sugar Sugar. Number 2, by Johnny Cash, A Boy Named Sue. And the number 1 song for the second week in a row, it'll be number 1 for 4 weeks total, by the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Women. I remember I lived on Capitol Hill in Denver, Colorado. I was probably about 20 years old, and we had this song on a 45, and it played it over and over and over. Had the windows open, sitting out on the front stairs of my apartment house. Now this is just an old house. It was probably 4 or 5 apartments made in that old big house on Capitol Hill in Denver. And it played over and over. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And some girl, she was a cute girl. She came out, I didn't even know her. She stood right in front of my buddy and me, or we were talking, with her hands on her hips, and told her she likes Honky Tonk Women just as much as the next person, but not over and over and over with the volume as loud as you can go at 2 o'clock in the morning. Would we please shut that sucker off? And so I did. I wanted to do another story about growing up in my little hometown in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, but for some reason lately I haven't been able to come up with one. Just one more story. What can I tell about? I have a list of when I get an idea, I write it down. Then I go back when I'm prepared to do a podcast. Half the time that list makes no sense to me. What I wrote down. I have no idea what I was thinking. I know that place where I was born and raised has so many wonderful memories and experiences, and it's always in my soul, and it's forever in my heart. And I think I'm just trying too hard to come up with another story. I know after 292 episodes, the high points are probably all taken. But there's things deep down inside of me I want to come up with and share them. I say over and over, I do this podcast, so maybe someday my grandchildren will listen, and they'll remember old Papa. Now, once in a while, they'll listen to one. I understand that, but I do also understand why they don't. I'm just some old guy to them, and they may love me, and I appreciate that. I do. And I love them very, very much. And maybe when they get older, seeing an old picture of me or something, they'll remember. But by golly, I hope somehow these stories are preserved for them. So I'm doing this out of love and a little craziness. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've arrived at our webpage, there are links to our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, our YouTube channel, our Boomers General Store, and other places. Plus, many links on different avenues to hear our podcast. Always be kind. It's good for your soul. You'll be glad you were. Thanks for riding along today. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.